Good afternoon, brothers and sisters and teacher love. So today is 14th of June 2026. Uh, I'll be presenting this YMBA Diploma Abhidhamma assignment. Is question 1. Enumerate immoral categories with details of each as given in the compendium of unwholesome categories. This is based on the 2024 YMBA Diploma Abhidhamma paper. So I'll start with the introduction. The question requires enumerations of immoral categories as presented in the compendium of unwholesome in chapter 7 of Comprehensive Manual of Abhidhamma, or in short, I put in as CMA. So in Abhidhamma, akusala is defined as unwholesome because it is rooted in greed, hatred, and delusion. It produces unpleasant results and is opposite to wholesome, kusala. So the compendium lists 9 distinct groupings of defilements: asava, oga, yoga, ganta, upadana, nivarana, anusaya, samyojana, and kilesa, each describing the same underlying unwholesome mental factors or cetasikas, but from a different functional perspective. So this essay will enumerate each category with its components, some characteristics, and Abhidhamma analysis. So let's go into the compendium of immoral akusala samgaha. So in the compendium of unwholesome, there are 9 groups or sections, namely, repeat, asava, oga, yoga, ganta, upadana, nivarana, anusaya, samyojana, and kilesa. So the details are as follows. The first one, I label it as TU1, asava. In English, it can be translated as taints, influx, or cankers. So there are 4 components, namely, kama asava, taint of sensual pleasure; bhava asava, taint of becoming, that is the desire of being reborn in the 5 material sphere and the immaterial sphere. Number 3 is ditthi asava, taint of wrong view, and there are many wrong views, among which there are the belief in a permanent self and that this body and mind is I, mine, myself, etc. And the 3rd component is the avidya asava, taints of ignorance, not knowing the 4 noble truths, dependent origination, lakkhana, etc. So taint refers to the mental intoxicants that flow in and defile the mind. That means from somewhere it flows into the mind, and as a result, it defiles the mind. Or that flows out towards the object. That means something that flows out towards the object. That means taking the object. And it keeps beings wandering in the samsara. So that's where the continual birth and death cycle. Pain could flow up to the topmost level of existence. That is the arupa realms in the 31 planes of existence. Now, in the Buddhist cosmology, there are 31 planes, and the highest is among the highest are the arupa realms, and it can flow all the way up to the arupa realms. Pain deeply infects the mind, and it continues for a long time. And this is very difficult to remove it unless it is destroyed by wisdom. That means wisdom can only eradicate it. That is, only an arahant, the fully enlightened one, could eradicate all these taints. There is the 4 listed taints above. And from the Abhidhamma perspective, these four things are Lobha Cetasika, that is for the Kama and Bhava Asava. Ditthi Cetasika for the Ditthi Asava, and Moha Cetasika for Avijja Asava. So in total, though there are four components, there are three ultimate realities, the Paramatta, and that is the three Cetasikas. So next we go to the A2, Oga, flood. So there are four components, namely Kama Oga, Bhava Oga, Ditthi Oga, and Avijja Oga. So Oga and Yoga, that is the A3 subsequent later one, are similar to Asava, that is the A1, in most aspects, except the characteristics of functions. That is, the category has their own characteristics and the functions. So here Oga refers to the mental state that sweeps beings away, and it sweeps them away and into the ocean of the existence, that is samsara. And because of its overwhelming power, that is Oga, the flood power, the water power, it is actually very hard to cross over, that is from samsara to ariya. So number 3 is yoga, born. Similarly, there are 4 components: Kama, Yoga, Bhava Yoga, Ditthi Yoga, and Avijja Yoga. And here yoga refers to the mental state that yokes or bonds beings to the wheel of suffering and does not allow them to escape from suffering. It bonds them, that means like it glues them to the suffering, to the wheel of suffering. The simile in the canon is that it's like an animal tied to a cart. So number 4 is Ganta. No. There are also 4 components, namely Abhijja, Ganta, not of covetousness. It's a form of greed. Number 2 is the Vyapada Ganta, not of aversion, or sometimes translated as ill will. Number 3 is the Silabhata Paramasa Ganta, not of the attachment to rites and rituals. Then number 4 is Idam Sacha Abhinivisa Ganta, not of dogmatic belief or attachment that this alone is the truth. That is, this view, this idea, this concept is the only truth. Others are not. No. So it has that strong belief. So Ganta refers to the mental knot that ties the mind to the body. That's one part of it. Or that tangles the mind and make release difficult. That is, the mind is totally entangled and it's very difficult to unentangle them. So from the Abhidhamma perspective, they are Lobha Cetasikas for covetousness, the Abhijja Ganta, Dosa Cetasika for the aversion, that is the Vyapada Ganta, and Ditthi Cetasika for the attachments to rites and rituals and dogmatic belief, that the Silabhata Paramasa Ganta and Idam Sacha Abhinivisa Ganta. So in total, there are also 3 paramata. But there is a slight difference between A1 to A3. Because here you have a dosa. Previously, we don't have. So number 5 is upadana, or clinging. There are also 4 components. Number 1 is kama upadana, clinging to sensual pleasure. Number 2 is ditthi upadana, clinging to wrong view. Number 3 is silabhata upadana, clinging to rites and rituals. Number 4 is attavada upadana, clinging to the doctrine of self. So clinging refers to the mental state of intense craving. There is a very strong thirst and it doesn't want to let go. It grabs tightly, not letting go, and takes things as mine or self. It's a very strong that this is I, mine, and self. And from the Abhidhamma perspective, they are Lobha Cetasika for Kama Upadana, Ditthi Cetasika for Ditthi Upadana, Silabhata Upadana, and Attavada Upadana. So in total, there are two Paramattha. There is Lobha and Ditthi Cetasika. So next, number A6 is Nivarana, hindrances. There are 6 components in the compendium, but in the sutta is 5. So number 1 is Kamachanda Nivarana, hindrance of sense desire. Number 2 is Vyapada Nivarana, hindrance of ill will or aversion. Number 3 is Tina Mina Nivarana, hindrance of sloth and torpor. Number 4 is Udacha Kukucha Nivarana, hindrance of restlessness and remorse. Number 5 is Vichikicha Nivarana, hindrance of doubt. Number 6 is Avijja Nivarana, hindrance of ignorance. So as a note, in the sutta, only the first 5 is listed. That means 1 to 5. Number 6 is only addition that is for the Abhidhamma under the compendium of immoral. In CMA, it includes Avijja, which is unique, and probably because Avijja is the root of all hindrances. That means the top 5 because of Avijja. Otherwise, they may not be hindrance. Thus, to complete the analysis of hindrance, Avijja is included. So, hindrance is the mental state that obstructs the way to heavenly rebirth and to the attainment of Nibbana. It also hinders the attainment of absorption, jhana, and consequently, the hindrance to wisdom, panya. So from Abhidhamma perspective, these 6 components are Lobha Cetasika for Kamachanda, Dosa Cetasika for Vyapada, Tina and Mina Cetasika for Tina Mina, Udacha and Kukucha Cetasika for Udacha Kukucha, Vichikicha Cetasika for Vichikicha, and Moha Cetasika for Avijja. So in total, from the 6 components, we have 8 Cetasika, 8 Paramatthas. Next, we go to A7, Anusaya, latent tendency. There are 7 components. One is Kama Raga Anusaya, latent tendency of sensual desire. Bhava Raga Anusaya, latent tendency of becoming. 3, Patiga Anusaya, latent tendency of aversion or ill will. 4 is Mana Anusaya, latent tendency of conceit. 5th is Ditthi Anusaya, latent tendency of wrong will. 6 is Vichikicha Anusaya, latent tendency of doubt. 7 is Avijja Anusaya, latent tendency of ignorance. So, latent tendency refers to the mental state that lies dormant in the mind and only rises to the surface when it meets with suitable conditions. It is not active and remains hidden in the mind stream. Hence, latent tendency is very subtle and requires deeper understanding and insight before it can be gradually eradicated. In one sutta, it indicates that an arahant, that is one who has eradicated all the defilements, might still exhibit traces of past habit or behavior, like speaking loudly or harshly as if angry. That means to a normal person is angry, but to the arahant, that is their habitual habit. Or in the case of Mahakassapa Thera, even though after attaining arahant, he continues to practice asceticism because of his many past lives, habit, and inclination. From the Abhidhamma perspective, these Anusaya, they are actually Lobha Cetasika for Kama and Bhava Raga. Dosa Cetasika for Patiga. Mana Cetasika for Mana. Ditthi Cetasika for Ditthi, Anusaya. Vicikicca Cetasika for Vicikicca, Anusaya. And Moha Cetasika for Avijja, Anusaya. So in total, there are 6 paramatas, 6 Cetasika. So next we continue with the Samyojana, A8 Samyojana, translated as factor. So there are 10 components in Samyojana. 1 is Sakaya Ditthi, personality view. 2 is Vicikicca, doubt. 3 is Silabata Paramasa, attachment to rites and ritual. 4 is Kamaraga, sensual craving. 5th is Patiga, ill will or aversion. 6 is Rupa Raga, craving for fine material existence. 7 is Arupa Raga, craving for immaterial existence. 8 is Mana, conceit. 9 is Udacha, restlessness. 10 is Avijja, ignorance. So, as a note, among the Sutta and Abhidhamma list, there are some slight differences. That is, there are few items in the Sutta does not appear in Abhidhamma list, and similarly, some in the Abhidhamma list is not in the Sutta. Listed here is the Sutta list. That means the above lists are from the Sutta. Factor refers to the mental state that yokes. That means factor is actually the mental state that yokes or binds things to the round of existence. These factors are cut off or uprooted, and that is gradually through the 4 stages of awakening. The first stage of nobility, the extreme enterer, Sotapatti, cuts off the first 3 factors. The third stage, Anagami, cuts off the 5 lower factors. Only an Arahant cuts off all the 10 factors. And from the Abhidhamma perspective, they are Ditthi Cetasika for Sakaya Ditthi and Silabata Paramasa, Samyojana. Vicikicca for Vicikicca Samyojana. Vicikicca Cetasika for Vicikicca Samyojana. Lobha Cetasika for Kama, Rupa, and Arupa Raga Samyojana. Dosa Cetasika for Patiga Samyojana. Mana Cetasika for Mana Anusaya. Udacha Cetasika for Udacha Samyojana. And Moha Cetasika for Avijja Samyojana. So in total, out of the 10, there are 7 paramatas or 7 Cetasikas. So a Sotapatti has cut off Ditthi in Vicikicca Cetasika. Hence the associated Citta, that is the 4 Lobha Mula Ditthi Sampayutta Citta and the 1 Moha Mula Vicikicca Sampayutta Citta. Totally 5 Akusala Citta would not arise in the Sotapatti mind stream. And Anagami has cut off the Dosa Cetasika and eliminated the causal Lobha, that is, the Kama Raga. Hence, 2 Dosa Mula Citta plus the earlier 5 Akusala Citta. Totally 7 Akusala Cittas have been eliminated by Anagami. Only at the Arahant stage that all the 12 Akusala Cittas are eliminated and would not ever arise again in the mind stream. So the number 9 is A9 is Kilesa or defilement. There are 10 components. 1 is Lobha, Kilesa, or greed defilement. Number 2 is Dosa, ill will. 3 is Moha or delusion. Number 4 is Mana, conceit. The 5th is Ditthi or wrong will. 6 is Vicikicca or doubt. 7 is Tina or sloth. 8 is Udacha or restlessness. 9 is ahirika, not ashamed of wrongdoing. Number 10 is anutapa, not fearful of wrongdoing. So these are the 10 kilesas. Defilement here refers to the mental state that defiles. That means it itself is defiled. And or rather the mental state that will make others defile. Mental state that defiles, that's what it means. It makes others' mental state to be dirty, or itself is in a defiled state. That means by itself, its own nature, its own characteristic is actually in defiled state. It's dirty. So it torments or afflicts the mind. Hence, it defiles beings by dragging them down to a mentally soiled. I mean, because of this defilement, it drags beings into a mental state which is soiled, that means dirty, and into a deprived condition, that means into a suffering state. Also, in other words, defilement is impurity that stains the mind. It disturbs, it darkens, it corrupts the mind. From the Abhidhamma perspective, there are 10 Cetasika. As each factor also represents the Cetasika that bear the same name and has the same meaning. This Kilesa group is the broadest category, with the most Paramatta, and it includes Ahirika and Anutapa Cetasika, which are not included in any other 8 groups above. So as a conclusion, in summary, the Akusala Sangaha enumerates 9 categories of unwholesome states: Asava, Oga, Yoga, Ganta, Upadana, Nivarana, Anusaya, Samyojana, and Kilesa. These are not 9 different sets of defilements, but the same underlying unwholesome mental factors, primarily Lobha, Dosa, Moha, together with Ditthi, Mana, Uddhacca, Vicittica, etc. And they are classified by their mode of operations or the functions of the grouping. For example, pains flow, flux sweep, bonds yoke, knots tickle, clinging grabs, hindrances obstruct, tendency lie dormant, petals bind, and defilement stains. Understanding these classifications help meditators recognize and abandon the defilements at their respective levels. From the causes, for example, the hindrances, the nivarana, to the subtlest, the latent tendency, the anusaya. Ultimately, only the Noble Eightfold Path eradicates them completely, leading to Nibbana. So these are the notes. So on the reference, I would like to thank Brother Lau for his comments and suggestions to my earlier drafts. And he has given me a lot of ideas as to how to improve the presentation and to make the assignment more smooth. Thank you, Teacher Lau.
Okay, thank you. Quite detailed one. I hope you can remember everything. And if there's such question come out during exam, hope you best of luck to you lah. It is very long.
Yeah,
I don't know how
long.
much you can remember. Any question from the rest? No, we'll proceed next one.
No, I actually want to ask, in the real exam, how are you going to answer this question?
Correct. So exam come, right time, choose the easiest question you can write as much as you possible. First one, okay? Then you will see how much you can remember for the rest. So tailor your plan, which is the very first one to start. So
Because this one
start with
very
the most
long.
easiest one. Okay, don't worry so much. Start with the most earliest.
This one is, if you can remember, it's not that difficult, but then it's very long. You want to write all the things, it's very long.
So it
Not
depends on
enough time
yourself.
to write.
You start with the easiest one. Complete that one first, especially the short notes. Short notes. You whack 4. You can write half a page to 3/4 page. Easily 5 mark. So that one, if you can get 20 mark, you are plain sailing already. The rest is up to you. So just tailor-make yourself. Which the easiest one start first if you are the kind of no confident one. So mark read before you start. So mark which one you want to attempt. Okay. So you spend your time wisely because 5 questions, I think it's 3 hours, right? Yeah, not wrong, it's 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it's about 35 minutes per question, plus checking everything inside. Okay. So you want to be smart, exam smart. Which one to start first?
For Brother Cohen, actually, I got two comment. One is slide 12. It say in one sutta, the something the Arahant follow back the old practice. I think it's good to say which sutta rather than in one sutta lah. But I also don't know which sutta lah. But I read your side is like that. So I think it's good to say which sutta lah. Second thing is the Samudjana, where you list out the 10 factors according to sutta. But because this is a Abhidhamma question, right? So I think I read the book. There are 3 factors that are replaced, which are Rupa Raga, and Udacha. So I'm not so sure whether you want to list out these 3 instead of the other 3.
So, of course, it would be good to list out the Abhidhamma list, but then I find it that it becomes even more long. That means
but then this is Abhidhamma paper.
Agreed. I agree with you. But then I have problem what you call explaining the sequence of the what you call eradication stage, the Arya, the Magga, the stages of Magga eradication. Because if you follow the Abhidhamma, you have difficulties listing the first 3 or what, no? So unlike the sutta list, it's very clear cut. First to 3, okay, Sotapatti. First to 5 is Anagami. Now, so as a result, I follow back to, because in the comprehensive manual, it lists both the lists. So I have to choose one of them. Otherwise, it'll be even longer.
No, I was thinking maybe after you explain it, because you did mention it's slightly different from the sutta. So then maybe you just have to say these 3 are actually replaced, or then make it more complete. Since yours is already so comprehensive already, then suddenly this 3 point other.
Yeah, in a way, maybe put a note there. Okay.
Okay. But actually, I think no need to mention all the which one related to which Singa. Actually, it's not required.
It's
to
not
me
really, not according to the question, not really necessary.
Yeah.
But I thought it's just an additional point to elaborate. It's just some of the group I put in more because I just wish to highlight more. That's all. But I think in the exam I would not write so much also. I would definitely not able to write so much.
But I think this is a question that maybe not to choose. Too many things to write. You write every category got so many little things. Where got time to write?
So it's a choice. Okay, so shall I proceed with the second question? Okay, so this is the question 2. Explain the factors, that is the Samyojana, according to the Sutanta method and the Abhidhamma method. So this is also based on 2024 YMBA Diploma Abhidhamma paper. So as introduction, in the CMA, under the companion of unwholesome categories, there are 9 ways of classifying or grouping of unwholesome or defilements. One of these is the fetters, samyojana. Samyojana is also called the bond, the shackle, or the chain that tie beings to continual existence, that is samsara. So here the question requires an explanation of the fetters according to 2 methods. The Sutanta method as found in the discourses or sutta, and the Abhidhamma method as systematized in the CMA. While both methods share the same 10 fetters, the list differs slightly in their components. In this essay, I will first present the 10 fetters as enumerated in the Sutanta method. For example, the Anguttara Nikaya 10.13, and explain their meanings and the eradication stages. Then I will present the Abhidhamma method, noting the underlying mental factors and the differences in the 2 lists. Finally, I will compare the 2 approaches and explain their differences. So first is the Sutanta method. In the sutta, that is Samyojana Sutta, AN 10.13, or Orambagya Sutta, SN, for Samyutta Nikaya, it should be SN, capital N, 45.179, and Udambagya Bhagya, is it? SN 45.180. The fetters of Samyojana listed are Sakaya Ditti, Vichikicha, Silabata Paramasa, Kama Raga, Vyapada, Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga, Mana, Udacha, and Avijja. So these are the 10 fetters that is listed in these 3 suttas. So as a note, those in the bold, that is the Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga, and Udacha, are not in the Abhidhamma list. In the suttas, the first 5 fetters are also called lower fetters, that is these 5. Sakaya Ditti, Vichikicha, Silabata Paramasa, Kama, Raga, and Vyapada are called the lower fetters. And the other 5, that is the Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga, Mana, Udacha, and Avijja, are called the higher fetters. The meaning of these fetters are as follows. There is S1, that is the Sakaya Ditti. Personality view refers to the belief that there is a permanent, unchanging self, that one could call it as I, mine, or myself, that this body and mind is I, or belongs to me, or is myself. The second one is Vichikicha, doubt. It's been doubtful or not believing in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, and the teaching. 3. Silabata Paramasa is the belief that by performing certain rites or rituals, one could attain purity or liberation. 4. Kamaraga, sensual desire, is the desire of or attachment to sensual pleasure or the sensual world. 5. Vyapada, ill will, is the intention to harm or hurt. So 6 is Ruparaga, is attachment to the 5 material world or attachment to the 5 material existence. 7 is Aruparaga, is the attachment to the formless or immaterial existence. 8 is Mana, conceit, is thinking that one is better, equal, or lesser than another. 9 is Udacha, restlessness, is where the mind is in a constant state of flux, disquiet, that means not calm, not able to focus, or stay on a subject or an object. Number 10 is avidya, ignorance. It's not knowing the truth. For example, not knowing the Four Noble Truths, not knowing the dependent origination, not believing in or understanding in causal conditions like karma vipaka, dependent origination, etc. And avidya is a synonym of moha, delusion, which has the characteristic of mental blindness. So in the sutta, it is stated that the first stage of nobility, a sotapanna, supreme emperor, has eradicated totally the first three factors, namely Sakayaditi, Vicikicca, and Silabata Paramasa Sabhujana. A sotapanna could return to the sensual world at most 7 times and attain full liberation, and will not fall into the 4 woeful realms, Apaya, Bhumi. The second stage of Arya is Sakadagami, once returner. He has attenuated the grosser Kamaroga and Vyapada, but does not fully eradicate them. He will return at most 1 more time to sensual world and attain liberation then or in the Brahma realms. The third stage is Anagami, non-returner. He has eradicated totally the 5 lower factors. He will not come back to the sensual world, but would be reborn in the 5 pure abodes or in the 4th Rupa Jhana realms and attain liberation there. The 4th and the final stage of Arya is the Arahant, the fully enlightenment. He has eradicated totally all the 10 factors. As he eradicated all the asavas, there will be no further after his parinibbana. So the third, the Abhidhamma method. Now we go to the Abhidhamma method. The factors listed are Kamaraga, Bhavaraga, Patiga, Mana, Viti, Silabata Paramasa, Vicikicca, Isa, Macharya, and Avijja. These are the 10 factors in the Abhidhamma list. So I put a note there. Those in bold are not in the Sutanta list. There is number 2, Bhavaraga, number 8, Isa, and number 9, Macharya is not in the Sutanta list. In the Abhidhamma, the emphasis is more on the ultimate reality, Paramata Dhamma. Thus, Kamaraga, Bhavaraga are due to Lobha Citasika. Viti, Silabata, Paramasa are due to Viti Citasika. Patika is due to Dosa Citasika. Mana, Vicikicca, Isa, Macharya, and Avijja refer to the Citasika of the same name respectively. That is the Mana Citasika, Vicikicca Citasika, Isa Citasika, Macharya Citasika, and Moha Citasika. Thus, from these 10 factors, there are 8 Citasika of Paramata. Generally, the same factor in Abhidhamma has the same or similar meaning as those in the Sutanta, except for some that need elaboration. There is 1, the Bhava Raga, attachment to becoming, refers specifically to the attachment to existence in the Rupa Bhumi, the 5 material realms. Or in the Sutanta, we call it Rupa Raga and Arupa Bhumi. That is the Arupa Raga. Hence, Bhava Raga binds being to the higher Brahma planes. And now the number 8 one is the Isa, jealousy. It's been jealous of others' success. It's a mental state of not happy. That is, there is a dislike with others' success or what other has. So it is associated with dosa hetu, that is dosa root. Or hatred root. Number 9 is the Macharya, the avarice or stinginess. Is concealing one's success or not willing to share what one has with others. It is also associated with dosa hetu. So in terms of stages of nobility and the factors eradicated, it follows the Sutanta list. But the way Abhidhamma explained is at the ultimate reality, that is consciousness and mental factors. So for Sotapanna, the first 3 factors are eradicated. In Abhidhamma, it is explained that at the moment of arising of Sotapatti Magga Citta, the mental factors of wrong will and doubt, ditthi and vicikicca cittasika, are eradicated, and they will not arise ever again in that Sotapanna mind stream. Thus, the associated consciousness, namely the 4 Greek-rooted associated with wrong will consciousness, and 1 delusion-rooted associated with doubt consciousness, are also uprooted as well. These 5 unwholesome consciousness and the 2 unwholesome mental factors would not arise in the mind stream of a Sotapanna individual. Then the next stage is the Sakadagami, does not eradicate any new factor in the Abhidhamma analysis. Only the grosser form of Kama Raga and Patiga are attenuated. And as for Anagami, he has eradicated the 5 lower factors. So at the moment of the rising of Anagami Magga Citta, hatred-rooted and mental factors. That means hatred-rooted, that is the dosa hetu, and the mental factor associated with it, there is a cettasika that associate with the dosa hetu, have been eradicated. Consequently, the 4 hatred-related mental factors, that is dosa chaturka, namely dosa, isa, macharya, and kukucha, cittasika, and the 2 hatred-rooted consciousness have also been uprooted. As in total, 7 unwholesome consciousness, along with 6 unwholesome mental factors, that is the ditthi, dosa chaturka, and vicikicca cittasika, would not arise in the mind stream of an anagami individual. As for Arahant, all 10 factors are eradicated. Thus, all the 14 unwholesome mental factors and the 12 unwholesome consciousness have been eradicated and uprooted. No unwholesome mental state would arise in the mind stream of an Arahata individual. So next we go to the differences between the 2 methods. In the Sutanta list, there are Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga, Udacha, which do not appear in the Abhidhamma list. Similarly, the Abhidhamma list has Bhava Raga, Isa, and Macharya, which do not appear in Sutanta list. So in the Abhidhamma list, Bhava Raga, attachment to existence, is more encompassing, and it includes Rupa Raga and Arupa Raga. Thus, Bhava Raga and Kama Raga together cover all the 3 planes, just like the Sutanta list. The Sutanta list includes Udacha as the 9th factor. The Abhidhamma list omits Udacha as a factor, but instead includes Isa and Macharya. Why? In the Abhidhamma system, Udacha is a universal cittasika that arises in all unwholesome consciousness. But it is not itself a factor because its eradication does not define a specific stage of awakening, because it is only fully destroyed at Arahant stage. By contrast, Isa and Macharya are dosa-related factors that are eradicated at Anagami stage. The Sutanta's Udacha may be understood as a broader, practical, observable manifestation of defilements. But the Abhidhamma distinguishes Isa and Macharya for precise analytical purposes. So the following table summarizes the comparison between the two lists. So this is the pattern from Sutanta list. These are the patterns that is in the Abhidhamma list, and these are the remarks. So here, you have Sakaya Ditti right until Avijja for the Sutta list. And then here is the Abhidhamma list. So we try to tally. So here in Rupa Raga, but it is part of Bhava Raga. Arupa Raga is also part of Bhava Raga. So Abhidhamma list is not according to the sequence in Abhidhamma list. It's just trying to suit to the pattern in the Sutanta list. The first few are the same. Then Rupa Raga and Arupa Raga is actually part of Bhava Raga. Mana is Mana. Udacha is not a factor in the Abhidhamma list. Then Avijja is Avijja. Then 11 and 12 is in the Abhidhamma list, but it's not in the Sutta list. So that's where the remark helps to indicate this is summary for easy counter reference. And as a conclusion, so both the Sutanta Abhidhamma method agree that the 10 fetters bind beings to samsara and are progressively eradicated through the 4 stages of awakening. So the Sutanta method presents a practical discourse-based list that includes Rupa Raga, Arupa Raga, and Udacha as distinct factors. The Abhidhamma method refines this. It replaces Rupa and Arupa Raga with a single Bhava Raga and omits the Udacha and adds Isa and Macharya as those are related factors eradicated at Anagami stage. These differences are not contradictions. They reflect the Abhidhamma's goal of ultimate precision. Both methods point to the same liberating path, and understanding both enriches one's practice. So that's the end of the presentation. I have to thank Brother Lau for the feedbacks. So, any comments?
Okay, thank you. Very well done in detail. Anybody want to point out? If no pointing out, I go next question here.
Okay. So, Chai-Hoon, any comment?
This son of paying attention was correcting my spelling. So, but I'll read again. I don't really.
Emma, you take it as a what you call reference lah. If anything, any mistakes, you let me know. Or any doubt.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll continue with the question 3.